We can tell a good story before one of the classes has to leave. Good morning, everybody. If you are in your classrooms, teachers, if you make sure that you mute your mics, that would be great. And we'll start. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, everyone, for waiting for us. And I am so happy to visit Cannon Elementary School again through my computer. And welcome to my studio where I make art and I tell stories and occasionally sing songs. And I'm going to, do a little of almost all of that this morning. I always love to start with my favorite welcome song. And if you've ever been in a storytelling session with me before, you'll recognize this song. Hello, 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 everybody. That means hola, hola. Hola, everyone, that means jumbo, 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 everybody, that means hello, 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 everyone. That's the hello song, and so if you can sing it back with me, whenever I sing hello, in English or in Spanish, hola, or in Swahili, jumbo, you can sing that along with me. Ready to give it a try? Hello, 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 everybody, that means hola, 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 everyone, that means jumbo, 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 everybody, that means hello, 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 everyone, hello, everybody. Welcome to Storytelling in my studio. I'm Miss Natalie. I am an artist and a storyteller. This is what I do. I have a good time creating things. Well, I want to start by sharing some stories with you from the Gullah Geechee community of South Carolina. Now, you live way up in the north part of South Carolina, and I live way down on the southern coast near the Atlantic Ocean. Now, this area is very special because this area is not only beautiful and not in the ocean, it also is very swampy. There were cypress swamps growing all along, and because of that, many, many, many years ago, planters decided to grow rice. Well, they didn't know how to grow rice, and the story of how they grew rice is a story of how I came here. So I'm going to start with a story about a little girl named Keba and her brother, Sim. Now, Keba and Sim lived in the coastal community known as Cedar Grove. They were a lot like you. They were probably 7. Well, Keba was older. Keba was 9 and Sim was 7. And they lived with their ma. Oh, some of you are 7. They lived with their ma and their pa. Now, their ma was a teacher, and their pa was worked in an office, but they also lived with their grandma and grandpa, and their grandma made sweetgrass baskets. This is a sweetgrass basket. Now, she knew how to make sweetgrass baskets because her parents knew how to make sweetgrass baskets. And her parents knew how to make sweetgrass baskets because their parents knew how to make sweetgrass baskets. And their parents knew how to make sweetgrass baskets because their parents knew how to make sweetgrass baskets. They had been making sweetgrass baskets for many, many years, and they started in Africa. Now, you see, when the farmers or the planters decided to grow rice here in South Carolina, they thought, how do we grow rice? We've never grown rice, but we know what to do. On the western coast of Africa, there are people who have been growing rice for many, many, many years. So we're going to go to West Africa and we're going to bring back rice farmers to grow rice here. Now, this wasn't really a job. It was, the rice farmers did not want to come. They were brought here against their will, and they didn't have a chance to bring anything with them. They didn't have a chance to pack a suitcase or get a backpack or put anything in their pockets. They were brought to this country, and it looked like they didn't have anything except they did have what they knew, what they remembered, what they could make with their hands, and what they believed. And one of the things they knew how to do was grow rice, and another was to make sweetgrass baskets. Now, Grandma made sweetgrass baskets every day. And when she made her baskets, she would, oh, this is how rice looks when it's growing. When she made her baskets, she would sell them at a stand. She would weave the baskets together, bit by this, round and round, back and forth. And when she had a lot, she would set them up at her stand and sell them near Cedar Grove. But one evening as they sat together, Grandma looked very concerned. She said, "You know, I'm almost out of sweetgrass. And without the sweetgrass, I can't make the baskets. But I've hurt my leg and I can't go to the place where I gather sweetgrass. I don't know what I'm going to do." Now, this really concerned Keba and Sim because they didn't want their grandmother to be unhappy. And that night as they were going to bed, Keba said to Sim, she said, "Sim, let's go get some sweetgrass tomorrow for Grandma." And Sim said, "But we are big enough to go and get sweetgrass. How do we know how to get there?" And Keba said, "Well, I went with Grandma and Grandpa before. I can remember. It's a lot like a sweetgrass basket. You see, we just go round and round and in and out, and round and round and in and out, and round and round and in and out until we get to the place where the sweetgrass grows." And so they made a plan to get up very early in the morning before day clean and not to tell any grown-ups and to get some sweetgrass for their grandma. Now, I don't really think that was a good idea because the grown-ups should have known where they're going. But Keba thought she was a big kid, and Sim trusted Keba. So early the next morning, before day clean, that means before the sun came up, Keba got up and she woke Sim up. And she said, "Let's go. But we need some things first. We need something to eat." So she opened the refrigerator and she looked inside. And inside there was a pot of Hoppin' John. Now, Hoppin' John is something that people eat who live here. And it's made with rice and peas. And it's really good. So she took some Hoppin' John and she put it in a big piece of Tupperware. And she put the top on it and she put it in her backpack. And then she got a bag and her brother got a bag. And they snuck out of the house before day clean. The sun hadn't even had just started to come up when Keba and Sim got to the road. And they looked one way for cars and they looked the other way for cars and they didn't see any. And so they crossed the road and they went in to the swamp. They looked for all the dry places to go. And Keba tried to remember. She said, "Well, I know we go round and round and in and out, and round and round and in and out, and round and round and in and out." And they had gone deeper into the swamp and the sun was just starting to come up when suddenly Keba stopped and she looked around. And Sim said, "What's wrong, Keba?" And Keba said, "I think we're lost. What are we going to do?" And as they stood there worrying, something floated down from the sky. And it was a big feather from a turkey buzzard. And when she looked up, there in a tree was a big old turkey buzzard. And he said, "What you two doing down there?" And Keba said, "We're trying to go to the place to get the sweetgrass, but we're lost and we don't know how." And turkey buzzard said, "What you got in that backpack?" And Sim said, "We just have our lunch." Buzzard said, "What kind of lunch?" And Keba said, "It's Hoppin' John." And Buzzard said, "I do like Hoppin' John. I'll tell you what, you give me some of that Hoppin' John and I'll tell you how to get to the sweetgrass." So Keba took off her backpack and she reached in and she got the big Tupperware container of Hoppin' John and she looked around and she found a shell and she scooped some out and she offered it to Turkey Buzzard and Turkey Buzzard came down and said, "Oh, okay, now here's what you do. When you get down to that path, you turn towards the sun and then you go round and round and back and forth, round and round and back and forth." And they said, "Thank you, Turkey Buzzard." And the Turkey Buzzard said, "But one thing to remember, whoever you meet, don't ever feed a gator." And they said, "Oh no, we wouldn't feed a gator." So they put up the rest of their Hoppin' John and they put the feather in their backpack And off they went down to where the road branched, and then they turned toward the sun, and they went round and round and back and forth, round and round and back and forth, round and round and back and forth, until Keba looked around and she said, I'm lost. And Sim said, not again. What are we gonna do? But right about then, they heard a sound. And when they looked, peeking through the trees was the nose of Coyote. And Coyote said, what are you guys up to? Excuse me. And Sim said, we're going to go get Sweetgrass for Grandma, but we're lost and we don't know what to do. And Coyote said, what you got in that backpack? And Keba said, it's our lunch. And Coyote said, what kind of lunch? And Sim said, it's Hoppin' John. And Coyote said, I like some Hoppin' John. If you give me some, I'll tell you what to do. So Keba took off her backpack and she reached inside. She got the Hoppin' John and she scooped out some for Coyote. And she gave it to him, and Coyote said, I tell you what. Go on down through the path, and when you see 3 big trees, you pick the biggest one, and you go around that tree, and you keep on going, and you go round and back and forth, and round and back and forth, and you will find the sweetgrass. But one thing to remember, don't feed no gators. And they said, oh, we would never feed any gators. And Coyote said, tell you what, I got something for you. And he reached down and he handed them a shaker. He said, take this, you might need it. So Keba took the shaker and she put it in her backpack and she stuck it in there with her feather, and then she went with Sim till they got to the 3 big trees, and when they saw the biggest tree in the middle, they went around that tree and they found the path, and they went round and back and forth, round and back and forth, until finally they came out near the creek. And alongside the creek, there was sweetgrass growing. It was tall and fragrant, and it was blowing in the breeze. And they said, we made it. So Keba put down her backpack, and Sim and Keba got open their bags, and they began to pick sweetgrass. Pick it while it's long, they said, because when it's long, Grandma can use it. And they picked the long sweetgrass, and they put it in their bags. Pick, and it smelled so good, which is why they call it sweetgrass. And they'd almost had their bags full when Sim noticed some eyes peeking up above the creek. 2 big eyes, and they blinked. And they blinked again. And Sim said, Keba, look. And as they watched, out of the creek came the head of the gator. And he said, well, hello there. And they said, what you doing? Keba said, we just wanted to pick some sweetgrass for our grandma. He said, well, I think I own all the sweetgrass around here. I don't think I'm going to let you have any sweetgrass unless you give me something. Well, what do you want? Sim said. He said, what you got in that backpack? She said, well, we have a feather, we have a shaker, and we have our lunch. Said the gator. Lunch? I sure would like some lunch. What kind of lunch you got? And they said, Hoppin' John. Said the gator. I like me some Hoppin' John. Well, I also like little boys and little girls, so which one will it be? And Sim said, I think we should give him the Hoppin' John. But Keba said, no, they said never feed a gator. What will we do? What will we do? So then Keba had an idea, and she took the feather and she shoved it in the gator's nose. And he said, Achoo! They said, okay, we should run. And they turned around with their bags full of sweetgrass, and they began to run back down the path. But then they heard the feet. And it was the gator. Oh no, what should we do? And then Keba said, what about this? And she took out the shakerette and she began to shake it. And as she shook it, the gator stopped. And the gator, one thing the gator liked, almost as much as he liked little girls, little boys, and Hoppin' John, was to dance. And when he heard the shakerette, he couldn't help himself. They were running and shaking. And Gator started doing a dance. He couldn't chase them because he was so busy listening to the dance. And he just stood there and danced himself. And they ran and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran. Back down the path, back around the big tree, back to the place where they had faced the sun. And this time they ran away from the sun until finally they got home. And it was almost time for the sun to be red for down. That means sunset. And their mama was home from work and their daddy was home from work. And they had been so worried. Where is Keba? Where is Sim? What are we going to do? And Grandma was worried. She could barely sew her baskets. But there they came. Grandma, we brought you some sweetgrass. Oh, their parents and their grandparents were so glad to see them. And they hugged them. And then you know how parents do. They were glad to see him, and then they fussed at him. Don't you ever do that again. You hear me? Don't you ever do that again. And they said, we sure won't. We sure won't. But we met the buzzard, and we met the coyote, and then we met the gator. But we got away. And so they were so happy to have them home, and so they fixed a big meal of shrimp and grits, because folk down here like to eat shrimp and grits. And that evening, Grandma began to sort through her sweetgrass. And the next day, she had enough sweetgrass to begin to sew baskets again, to go round and round and in and out, round and round and in and out. And she had enough baskets so that she could sell them again at her stand. So that is the story of the sweetgrass baskets that Sim and Keba helped their grandma make.